lifestyle if you stick with it and you like tailor it to meet your needs. And that's kind of what our videos are about. If you haven't seen any of those, you can check those out. I think that's really like the best resource for learning about keto that we've put together is our videos. Yeah. Cookbook's great too though. The cookbook is, I guess just...
So it's 10 of our like main staple recipes from our food blog, but the rest are new, which is really exciting because we spent a lot of time making these amazing recipes and like not being able to share them with you guys on YouTube. So now that they're out, you know, we love seeing people making them. And my favorite part of the cookbook is probably the takeout section. As I said, I eat a lot of takeout, or I did, and so I miss that. Like cooking every single meal, or you know, meal prepping isn't fun. It's not like easy. It's not sustainable with a family. So when you have recipes that are like takeout recipes, you can also, you know, everyone in the family can enjoy it, even if they're not keto. So burgers, pizzas, wings, everything. I mean, who doesn't love all that stuff, right?
I think it's kind of like bridging the gap between the ideal diet, which is probably like just whole foods keto diet, simple like meat, vegetables. That's pretty much as good as it gets. But this, like, not everyone can stick to that. You know, you've been told to eat healthy for forever. And it's hard to stick to that when you have all these temptations of grab and go convenience foods, fast foods. So like something like this that can bridge the gap a little bit. Like there's a ton of delicious recipes. Probably not stuff you want to eat like every single day, although there's a bunch of recipes in here that are great for every day. But like some treats, some sweets, stuff like that, that instead of like going to Cinnabon, you can just make this, and it's half as good maybe, and it's like I mean Cinnabon's really good. Yeah. So
before we were keto, we actually we had a rule: every time we saw Cinnabon, we'd have to get it and share a Cinnabon. We never did it.
It never actually happened.
Because when we get there, we're like, it's too many calories.
We did have a rule though.
But we made a rule, so. Make a rule, you know, with your spouse or your child. Like, you know, we'll make something from Keto Made Easy, or you know, another recipe book every single week, and make it fun. Cook together. I think that's
fun. Yeah. Cooking together.
Making it fun.
I mean, if you want to take charge of your health, you're going to have to do some cooking. I know a lot of kids like our age. We're not really kids anymore, but they don't know how to cook. It's weird. So I think that's step one. Is just kind of learning how to cook, learning what's in your food. And then we got a few other, it's not just recipes, there's a little bit of other stuff in this book. We have meal plans and just like the very basics. A good section at the front is like the ingredients we use and why we use them. Just kind of if you're new, like if you want something sweet, what should you be using? We tell you what we use. And then the meal plans, a lot of books have meal plans, and it's hard to just like make a meal plan that people can use, like, because everyone's different, you know? So we have 6 different meal plans in here, and it's just like a 1-week sample. So like you get some ideas, basically. It's not like, you're probably not going to want to follow them exactly, but change them up to meet your needs. Like there's one that is just a super basic one, that's probably the best one. There's one that is basically what I eat for a week, what Mega eats for a week. There's like a vegetarian one. And then there's a few that are different meal timing based ones, which is good to play around with. Like if you're used to the 3 meals a day plus 3 to 4 snacks plus dessert, you can do just like 2 meals a day, maybe just try something like that. Most people find that to be effective at just like limiting your overall food intake. It's a good way to go. And you got anything else?
No, I don't.
I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Keto Made Easy,
we
guys.
Made a cookbook.
Tag team. Arm bump, whatever that's called, bump. So, hi, I'm Jimmy Moore. Who has heard of the Livin' La Vida Low Carb Show? Both of you, great, awesome. Thank you guys very much. So yeah, I started that so long ago, and when I was out there, I was like, hello, anybody out there? So it's so great to have guys like this. I'm huge fans of them, and I've told them this, so it's not news to them. Huge fans of what they're doing because they're reaching people that I could never reach, and that's pretty much what it's all about. If you're here tonight and you're like, oh my gosh, these 2 authors, they have books, that could be you. And I want to encourage you, if you've had an inspiring story, get it out there. Don't be afraid to be a Danny Vega and be all that. Write a book about it. Crystal and Robert from Keto Savage. So yeah, we have lots of luminaries here tonight. I'll pick on them all here in a minute. But I started off as a 410-pound man. That's a lot of boy. and was on 3 prescription medications for high cholesterol, high blood pressure, breathing problems. I was a ticking time bomb. I had just watched my brother Kevin at the age of 32 have 3 straight heart attacks in 1 week that nearly killed him. And eventually it did kill him at the age of 41. Heart disease, morbid obesity, type 2 diabetes. And that was hard, watching your own brother go through something like that. And so I'm 4 years younger than he was. And so when I turned 32, I was like, I got to get serious about this. But we've always defaulted to diets that we thought were the right ones, right? What is that? Just yell it out.
Low fat.
Low fat, low calorie,
Cinnabon.
healthy whole grain Cinnabon. You had a whole nother definition of healthy. Although I think they did try a low-fat Cinnabon one time. Yeah, that was gross. But we've tried all those things, and they fail, right? And so I got a diet book for Christmas from Christine, my wife here, her mother. Gee, thanks, Mom. But I got a diet book like every year. One year I got Dr. Phil's book, Today Can Be a Changing Day in Your Life. No, Dr. Phil, it's still a low-fat diet. But in 2003, she gave me a book that totally revolutionized everything I thought I knew about nutrition. And it was the Atkins diet book, Dr. Atkins' New Diet Revolution. Who's read that one? Yeah, if you haven't read it, he's the granddaddy of all of them, really kind of popularizing low carb, which was the predecessor to keto. So I read this book and I'm going, this guy is completely wackadoodle. Eat less carbs? How are you supposed to have any energy at all if you don't eat carbs? Eat more fat? The dude is a cardiologist and he's telling you to eat the very substance that we know will clog your arteries and give you heart disease and a heart attack and you die, right? Who's believed that? We all believe that. But I was like, you know what? I've tried every diet known to mankind but this one, so let's give it a go. And so January 1st, 2004, I went on the Atkins diet. I went, and I love the gasp that's about to come, from drinking 16 cans of Coca-Cola a day, there's the gasp, whole boxes of Little Debbie snack cakes. Christine will tell you, I'd put fudge rounds in the freezer an hour before watching TV. I'd pull them out and I'd eat the whole box and then go get another box and eat the whole box. I was a sugar addict. You know, people turn to drugs and alcohol. Sugar was my drug. And I got drunk every night on it, right? And so I went and I actually ran the numbers, Ken, on how many carbs I used to eat and how many I ate when I started the Atkins diet. I used to eat 1,500 grams of sugar a day. And of course, that includes all those Cokes. And I went to 20. Don't do that. That hurt a lot. And day one, I was like laying on the couch. And Christine's like, are you okay? No, I'm dying. I was dying of withdrawals, exactly. You nailed it. And so I stuck it out, and by the 3rd day, something miraculous happened. I felt good. By the end of the week, something even more miraculous happened. I wasn't hungry. I wasn't having cravings. And so I go along this, and I'm going, okay, this is kind of wackadoodle. All I'm doing is eating bacon and eggs and cheese and all the quote-unquote forbidden diet foods. And I'm shedding pounds. I lost 14 pounds the first week, which obviously we now know that's a lot of water. And by the end of the first month, I'd lost 30 pounds. And I was so energetic after that first month of doing that, that I then started walking on the treadmill. I tell people I was weightlifting. Because I felt 380 pounds at the time, walking on a treadmill about 3 miles an hour, which is pathetically low. But when you're 380 pounds, that's a lot of work. And so I was doing that and lost another 40 pounds the second month. And I'm going, there must be something to this kind of low-carb way of eating. Long story short, lost 180 pounds that year, came off of all 3 of the prescription medications, and changed my life. And the Atkins people were like, we heard you lost some weight on our diet. Yeah, just a little bit. And so they featured my story on the front of their website, and I was like, okay, I don't know who you people are, because I didn't eat the bars and the shakes and all that stuff. I just ate the diet. And so after that happened, people were like, where can we find you? Where's your book? Where's your blog? I'm like, will you people leave me alone? There was no Facebook. There was no iPhones. There was no nothing at the time. And so a buddy of mine was into politics. He said, oh, there's political blogs everywhere. Maybe you could make a diet blog. I'm like, what's a blog? And in 2005, nobody knew what blogs were. And so I was like, okay, I could just write, journal, rant, whatever. And I was like, okay, that's up my alley. I double majored in English and poli-sci, so I like to write. And so I started in April 2005 the Livin' La Vida Low Carb blog. Yes, Ricky Martin was relevant then. He's not so much anymore. And a year later, this guy says, you know, if you talk half as good as you write, you should be podcasting. So what was my question? What the heck is a podcast? This was 2006. Again, pre-iPhone. How did they find my podcast? Fred Flintstone was having to use the little can and listen. So I started the Livin' La Vida Low Carb show in October of 2006, and it is now the longest running health podcast on the internet. Almost, it's 1,400 episodes. And counting. So if you haven't started, you got a lot of catching up to do. And I do a lot of other podcasts. You can Google my name and you can find all that stuff. But in 2012, our same publisher actually reached out to me. They were a paleo publisher at the time. They're like, hey, we love your platform. You want to write books? Yes. What do you want to write about? Ketogenic diets. First thing out of my mouth. I was doing some testing of it at the time. I'd gone through paleo and adding that to my low carb and eating real food and then learning about keto and testing for ketosis. So I was doing all of that. And so I go to them and I'm like, I want to write about keto. Well, that's kind of a niche of a niche. Nobody really cares about that. We don't think it's going to do anything. I said, you're so wrong. I could see the trend all the way back then. And then they're like, well, what else you got? I'm like, okay, how about the cholesterol? So I wrote a book about cholesterol called Cholesterol Clarity. Who's read that book? Both of you, thank you. And so after that book came out, I said, have I at least earned the right to see what the keto book will do? And so 2013, I got the contract for Keto Clarity. Who's read Keto Clarity? Awesome, a few more of you. So 2014, that book comes out, and it sells more copies in 1 week than Cholesterol Clarity did the whole first year. Okay, Jimmy, we get it. Keto's getting big. So it was the very first book that ever had keto in the title. And so that's pretty cool now, seeing all these keto books come along. The little keto babies. I see Lamb Bogle back there has the keto diet. And you guys have Keto Made Easy. And you're going to see a few people that are in this room that are going to have future books that will be out there that have the keto in the title. So it started this revolution. And I'm honored to be a part of it, honored to be able to write new books. So my new one is called The Keto Cure. And what I like to do is collaborate, because it's fun to write books on your own, but I'm just a layperson. I tell people I don't have any D after my name. There's no RD, PhD, MD, DO. There's just no D there. I'm just a dude. That's the D that's after my name. I'm a dude that got educated, a dude that tries to impart that knowledge on people in easy to understand language. And so that's what we did with Keto Clarity. And then this is like a follow-up to Keto Clarity, the Keto Cure. What we wanted to do, my co-author, by the way, Dr. Adam Nally. Who knows Adam Nally, Doc Muscles? Awesome. I'll make sure he knows that you guys love him. So I was talking with him. I said, you know, it'd be interesting to write a book where we talk about the metabolic pathway as to why keto helps with various diseases. Because it's one thing to say type 2 diabetes gets helped with a ketogenic diet, but unless you know why, don't you want to know why that helps? And so that's what we did with all kinds of conditions. Who has gout in here? It talks about how gout happens and the metabolic pathway as to how a ketogenic diet can help with that. Who has thyroid issues in here? I mean, cholesterol, higher cholesterol, which don't think you need to worry about, but some people do worry about it. On and on and on. Diabetes is really the big one. And so we wanted to create a resource that was easy to understand, and that's what we did. So Dr. Nally wrote the parts in the middle, and then you'll have my little caricature there on the side interpreting. This is what the doc just said, in case you didn't understand it. So that's helpful. And then Maria Emmerich, who knows Maria? So she wrote a bunch of recipes for us in the back of the book as well. So we tried to make it a complete kind of keto guide, and we were very honored when this came out a couple months ago. So I'm not going to take up any more time so we can actually get to some questions. So I'm going to bring Matt and Mega back up. As they're coming up, I want to recognize a few people in the audience that are luminaries in the keto world. We're going to start over here and pick on my friend, Dr. Ken Berry. Everybody know Ken Berry? And we got Kim Howerton, the ketonist. I'm going to get so much in trouble because some of them are hiding now. Liam Vogel, there she is. Yeah. I was looking for you. And then Robert and Crystal, Keto Savage, and Crystal's like the hardest one. You're under Keto Savage. And then way back there, Keto Counterculture, Danny Vega. Did I miss anybody?
Where's Fat Fuel Mom?
Yeah, is Fat Fuel Mom here? She's probably Fat Fuel being a mommy.
Yes.
So thank you guys for being here. So we're going to open the floor now for questions. That's what these guys do every day on camera. And so we're going to let them go to town. So if you have a question, raise your hand really high. Yes, ma'am. First one.
I just found that I have better success when I cut out dairy and all the cheese. And I find it, I struggle because the majority of the other recipes out there have a lot of cheese and a lot of dairy. So what are your suggestions? I mean, besides just stripping what we can or what I can out of it.
Yeah.
So I did dairy free for 2 months, and I liked it better. I didn't see like noticeable differences in weight, but my skin was a lot better. I have psoriasis, so it helped with like the inflammation and the pain with that. But I did a lot of coconut oil in my bulletproof coffees, and then I would do MCT powder, so that made it a little creamier. And then coconut cream replaced everything heavy cream. Unfortunately, there's not a lot, but I also, when I would do dairy, I would do anything unpasteurized, anything raw. I would look for that. I would do a lot of raw sheep and raw goat, so you can try using that and see how that makes you feel.
It's not that bad. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah.
It's more of the cheese struggle because I do use a lot of the conjecture, like the heavier ones.
Yeah.
Like the oatmeal type stuff and the chia and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I have found that supplementing the heavy cream with that has been helpful. But it's been like the cheddar cheese, like trying to replace that.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm just stripping that out. So.
That's kind of what you have to do. There's no real good substitution for cheese.
Right.
Yeah, that's the only one.
And don't do the vegan cheeses. Those are gross.
It helps with the bloating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's why I was trying to
Good.
thanks.
Sure.
Anybody else? Raise it loud, raise it proud.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's y'all's favorite recipes that you guys make each person?
In general? Or from
No, yeah, out of the book.
Okay. Out of the book. Ooh.
The one we make the most is like there's 2 of them I think in there, like the frittata and like a breakfast casserole. We make those for meal prep all the time.
Okay.
And then
But she likes dessert.
yeah. Oh, the chocolate cheesecake.
The chocolate cheesecake.
It's a lot of work, but it's phenomenal. It's worth the work. Yeah, you do.
How did you like Black's barbecue?
Best brisket I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah. It was really
Better
good.
than Atlanta. I think Texas is definitely
Absolutely.
better.
I grew up in Memphis, and we had pretty good barbecue there. Doesn't stand a thing to Texas barbecue.
What's the deal with
Amazing.
Franklin's though? Is that the best?
I've never eaten your own.
Yeah. It's just
Nobody can
further
get
out.
in to try it.
Well, they have one in Round Rock, but I honestly think the original is better. That's the one kind of out far.
I'm going to quote Yogi Berra. Nobody goes there anymore. It's too busy. You'll get that one tomorrow morning. Think about it.
Dr. Berry, you must have a question.
How much improvement have you noticed in your psoriasis on your journey from standard American to ketogenic?
So I'll be honest, I do use Western medication for my psoriasis. It gets really bad, but when I did AIP, so autoimmune protocol, so I cut out caffeine. Caffeine really, cutting that out helped a lot with anything, any autoimmune disorder. Cut out caffeine, cut out dairy. What else? Nuts, all nuts, and then tomatoes, eggplant, any like nightshades. So I cut out everything, and it's tough, but that's the only thing that helps with any inflammation. Yeah.
Why the nuts? I think I know why, but no nuts.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm allergic personally to tree nuts.
Okay.
So yeah.
I don't know if there was like some mold or something that
with the,
caused irritation with the psoriasis.
Why is there so much controversy about caffeine and coffee? I always ate healthy, okay? So eating healthy was, I guess most of us that have a diet background or a healthy background want to think we ate healthy. But the hardest thing for me was going from eating a healthy 3-meal and then small snacks in between to maybe intermittent fasting. And there's so much controversy about whether you should do the coffee in the morning. And I'm not hungry now when I do my coffee until 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
When you say coffee, are you saying the bulletproof coffee with the fat in it?
Yep, I am.
I can explain why I'm against that, but go ahead.
And I want to thank all 3 of you for everything that I've learned from all 3 of you. I follow all 3 of you, and I love everything you write.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So help me to figure out whether or not I am doing something wrong by doing the bulletproof coffee and not eating until I feel like I should eat.
So if you're doing it with that purpose in mind, I think that's a brilliant way to maybe reduce caloric intake, energy intake for the rest of the day. So I think
do decaf too, by the way.
You do decaf, okay.
Yeah.
So to your original question, you were saying what's the problem with caffeine, and then you switched to bulletproof. So that's when I was trying to get to what your question was. So
okay.
The reason some people have an aversion to caffeine is it can, in some people, stoke an insulin response. And so that would be detrimental to your goal of lowering insulin. Now, it's not in everybody, but it would be something that would be of concern. Now, as far as the bulletproof coffee, the way you're doing it, I think that's a brilliant way to do it. What I don't like is when people go on a fast and they're like, okay, I'm going to drink 600 to 800 calories worth of just liquid fat. And I'm still fasting. I'm like, no, you are not. That will totally break the fast. To me, I'd rather put extra butter on my food than to drink my fat in a bulletproof coffee. And so that's my aversion to it. It's just kind of silly. It's kind of like exogenous ketones, which is another controversial thing. I don't think you have to take that. You make enough endogenously eating low carb, moderate protein, high fat. You don't have to take them. Now, is it a good adjunct if you're already doing that and you're not quite seeing results? Sure, but it's not a replacement for doing it nutritionally.
Yeah, I would say, just for me personally, I do the bulletproof coffee in the morning, and I think like what you're saying, you kind of have to weigh out. I think a lot of people, the argument to the downside would be it's like empty calories. For the amount of calories you're consuming, it's not like satiating enough as like a meal would be with the fat added to that. But I like doing it in the morning with actually caffeinated coffee. I just am more productive, and it suits my lifestyle. But like, if weight loss is your #1 goal, you probably want to weigh out, like, is it filling enough to justify doing every day?
Well, it works out well for me because I do hot yoga. And so I can't eat in the morning before I'm going to do the yoga because I won't be able to do the yoga. So I drink the coffee and then I do some chores and then I go to yoga. So it works in for me.
Have you ever done it fasted?
Yeah.
Have you ever done it completely fasted?
No.
Would you consider doing it completely fasted?
Yeah.
Because I think you'd find some interesting results with that, and maybe have the coffee after if you feel like you needed something. But I think you'd get more benefits from the hot yoga if you didn't have the bulletproof before and you did it in the fasted state. And I'll certainly turn to some of my medical friends. Would there be better benefits, Ken, if she did it more in a fasted state?
Well, a water fast is the ultimate way to keep your insulin as low as possible, as low normal as possible. There's no better way than fasting. And for many, many people, a keto coffee, I don't like calling it bulletproof just because of the brand name. It confuses a lot of people and they think they need to spend $50 a pound for coffee. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about just with some MCT oil or some grass-fed butter. And for many people, and me included, it has helped me tremendously in my weight loss journey to sip on that through the day. And some of you guys may know I've been carnivore for a few months now, and so butter coffee through the day, and then I have my one meal a day in the evening. And the caffeine and the butter combination, I'm kind of like Matt. It's just like, yeah, let's go. Right? When I've had my keto coffee, I'm ready for business, and so I can see a bunch of patients in the clinic. And the medical science has been trying to prove that coffee's bad for decades. And I do agree with you, and some people I think it does elicit an unwanted insulin bump. But for most people, I don't think it does that. But you guys, anybody remember Postum, the breakfast drink? You've heard of that, right? When Post came out with that, he basically used his propaganda machine to villainize coffee. Back in the 30s or something, 20s, 30s, 40s. And so that's where coffee kind of started to get this bad name in America. It'll stunt your growth. You know, it'll cause cancer. It's bad for pregnant women and all this. And all that stuff's complete and utter myth. None of that's true. But for some people, that may be the key that's stalling you, is the caffeine bumping your insulin if you're one of those people. It's probably 1 person out of 5 who would have that problem. It's pretty rare. But if you've got everything else right and you're still stalled, maybe the caffeine, right? It could be, that's true. But for me personally, it works very well, and it's helped me not to turn into that carb zombie looking for something to eat so many times when I'm sipping on my butter coffee.
Thank you, Ken.
I did hot yoga for about a year before I realized I hated it, but for that year, it was important for me to get a lot of salt before I did it. I did it fasted for that year, and it was great, except for the hot part. But the salt was very important because you sweat so much.
Any other questions? Let's go over here. See if there's any right here.
Well, sorry to beat the coffee dead horse, but I personally do keto because I have ADD and it really helps me with my focus.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty insane. I can tell the difference. But I guess I'm kind of curious in like the argument with caffeine. Is it more that it's inflammatory, what people are saying? I guess what I'm trying to do is stay away from inflammatory things because I've heard, that can help with like interfere with cognition or whatever.
Right.
Is that kind of the argument with caffeine?
You can make yourself neurotic about every ingredient you ever put in your mouth.
And
I would
that's
say
kind
if
of
that caffeine makes you feel good, do it.
And you said it could spike your insulin.
It
to some
could, but
people.
as Dr. Berry said, it's a smaller segment. But I don't want people all to leave here thinking, oh, everybody can have coffee, and then some have that insulin response.
How do you know if you're that person who gets
You
that
can test it.
response?
What
are you looking out for?
You can test insulin in a lab.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's why I do all these geeky experiments on myself. So.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
My question's a little different. So, assuming that you're 100% keto compliant, and then you go to Paris on a romantic trip, would you have the croissant au beurre and the 2 Michelin-star dessert and the pomme puree?
That's a good question. We're about to go to Italy. So, yeah.
How would you guys do this?
I probably not the croissant, definitely the dessert, Michelin star. I mean, I'm having everything. You have to weigh it out, right? Do you need to be working during this trip? Are you going to be drinking and relaxing and enjoying? So then,
She said romantic.
Okay, so then I would personally make the most of it and not regret a thing.
Well, and here's the thing about keto. It's not a life sentence. I don't want you to leave here going, I must never have another carb in my mouth ever again. No. It's flexibility is what you're looking for. And when in Rome, literally, they're going to have carbs. When in Paris, have what makes you happy, and then get right back on plan when you get home. Everybody thinks, oh my gosh, I've ruined everything about my keto because I had whatever, fill in the blank. No, you haven't. All you've done is, okay, you've delayed it a little bit, get right back on it, you had a good time, enjoy yourself, and don't loathe, oh my gosh, why am I eating this, and have a hard time with it. Enjoy it, savor it, that's the way food's meant to be, and then get right back on plan when you get home. It's not hard.
Yeah. Don't be scared of food.
What I like to do is keep it pretty strict. If you're on a week vacation, say, keep it pretty strict, or I'll keep it 100% keto for the majority of it. But then the last day or two, when you got like the plane ride, you just want to sleep. Like it doesn't really matter that much. You don't have to be on top of your game. Maybe I'll have my Michelin star dinner on the last night or two. Basically.
Mentality, when in Rome, we're gonna drink beer,
Fish and chips,
Guinness, pie.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that ruined our entire week. So maybe like moderation. Like don't go full blown back into like eat a whole pizza pie.
Right. Pick one or two of your favorites. Like if I were in Rome, I'm gonna have some tiramisu. I'm gonna have a couple of things that but never again will I just go off plan and just have the fish and chips and 2 Guinness and then some bread pudding for it made my like if I was having to work that vacation, I would not have gotten anything done. And she was sick as a dog the entire week, and even after we got home, she was miserable.
You turn your vacation into the tour of the nicest bathroom.
Right.
So enjoy a thing or two, but don't get carried away.
Just ease into it.
Yeah.
Don't show up and like go
Yes, sir.
away.
Do you guys have a carb number that you aim for every day, and then do you log all your stuff?
Yeah, I go like most of the time I'll just eat kind of intuitively, but it's like based on similar meals that I just routinely have. So I don't have necessarily a carb number, but I like to be under like 20 total carbs every day. But if you just like track for one day, or maybe track for a week, and then apply that to just your diet moving forward. Like for us, what we normally do is we have like a routine. We'll eat the same breakfast and lunch, and then the only real variable is dinner, which is like half of maybe our calories for the day. So as long as our dinners are like similar, like basically meat, vegetables, added fats in some formulation, and then it's like pretty easy to just track like that, where you don't have to obsess over tracking all the time. Although sometimes we do that. If we have like a specific goal in mind, we'll track like really strictly.
Okay. And do you think when you're doing endurance type exercise, it's okay to increase your carbs like into the 30s, 40s, 50s?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, yeah, I think it is. I think once you get really well, and I don't know the answer, but this is what I've tested personally for myself, is like, if you're really well fat adapted, you can transition easily to using fat. So like if you can have some simple carbs, like sometimes for pre-workout I do just dextrose, which is basically just like really simple carbs. It has like 100 on the glycemic index. It like gets you kind of almost like caffeine, where it gets you like energized for the gym. And then you burn through that, but there's no like crash like you would have if you're running on carbs all the time. So I would say, like, let's say you do a 20-mile bike ride or something. If you do 10 to 20 grams of carbs before that, it's probably not going to mess with your diet much at all. But if you do like fructose, that will go to your liver, and that will interrupt fructosis more so than like I do dextrose, which just goes to your muscle glycogen, as opposed to your liver. So that's something you could experiment with for sure, and it doesn't hurt to try. This is all stuff I've tried. Like we've also tried doing carb cycling. I wouldn't really recommend that at all. I would say try some carbs around workouts if you feel like you need it. But the feeling that you need it, a lot of the times I found is just maybe not being fat adapted enough, like not eating enough fat could be part of it. So you can try like both of those two options, I would say.
Okay. Now I want to make a comment. Our family loves your recipes, and especially the Indian and Asian ones.
Thank you.
I've made like a lot of your recipes, and every single one is outstanding.
That's
You guys do
amazing.
a great job. I've never made one I didn't like. So.
We have time
One
for
guy.
2 or 3 more questions.
Okay.
One guy told us he hated our bagel recipe.
Yeah, and then for breakfast, she was like, I like you guys, but your bagels. Nice to meet you.
Welcome to stardom.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm really new to keto.
Welcome.
In terms of, thank you. I'll leave my friend. In terms of keeping your fat ratios higher than your protein and obviously your carbs. So how, because I've been told and trained just throughout my weight loss journey to keep your protein really high. So when I'm trying to build muscle mass while still trying to lose my fat mass and trying to build lean body mass with a vision, how do I do that having a higher fat ratio than my protein? Because I've always been told it's reversed. So help me.
So it just so happens we have such an expert.
I know.
So I'm going to have him chime in. Go ahead and tell him your name again.
All right, so
Robert Sykes is his name.
I'm actually speaking on this on Saturday, but thanks, Crystal. It's really important to have one primary goal. I get clients all the time that want to lose fat and build muscle, and you can do that. But I highly encourage you to have one primary goal. Focus on that, reach that goal, then transition to the second. You're gonna have a byproduct of some muscle gain as you're losing fat if you're training, correctly and hard. But I encourage you to do one, focus on that. And as far as the ratios go, you don't need near as much protein on keto to build muscle. I mean, I got down to 65 grams as a male, bodybuilding the week before my show. She got down to 30 and won her show. We were focusing on fat loss, and we took it really low. And when you take your protein lower, your ketone production ramps up if your fat ratio is high. Ketones are more muscle sparing. So we didn't lose any muscle mass with that low of protein. But if I'm trying to build muscle, I'll transition to a little bit higher protein ratio, but still my fat ratio is always higher because I feel better. Answer your question.
Okay.
Thank you, Robert.
I got you on Instagram. Okay.
One more question, guys. Yes, ma'am.
I just started like 3 months ago, so I'm new to it as well. And I think more or less I've finally gotten the numbers down, the fat intake, protein intake. My hardest adjustment is the working out. Like everybody puts out videos on the food that we need to eat, but like you get a lot of people that say, well, don't do a lot of cardio. You get people who say do a lot of resistance training. So which one would go best for this type of lifestyle? Is it just a little bit of cardio with a lot more weight, or a balance between the two, or is there anything that you all prefer or y'all found works best?
Well, I don't think it's really diet specific. I think just like for human beings, lifting weights is the best. Like you want to have some resistance training if you can, but you can like work up to that. Cardio is good. We do cardio most days just to build up cardiovascular strength, and it also, I just feel more energized throughout the day when I work out in the morning. But it's not as much diet specific. It's more so like if you're looking to lose a lot of weight, if you're doing that without working out, you're going to lose muscle along the way, whereas you kind of want to preserve your muscle mass. Muscle mass as you age is like really an important thing. So yeah, I would say as soon as possible, try learning to lift some weights.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, my biggest tip is just do something you enjoy.
Yeah.
Like for me, if I know it's leg day, and Robert says you can't do leg day without squats, but I hate squats, so I'm not doing them because it'll just ruin my day. So I'll go in, I'll do leg press, I'll do other things that still make me feel really good and really strong and push me. But find exercises that you enjoy. If you hate running, then don't run. There's other forms of building, endurance and strength.
You killed those squats, Megan.
Yeah. I try.
So I think sometimes because of the Biggest Loser and our cultural thing of if you want to lose weight, you must kill yourself at the gym, I would rather you start on the diet, start experiencing the feel-goodness of that. And like I did when I did the Atkins diet and went to exercise for the first time in my life, it was spontaneous. It's almost like rather than having to force the exercise, for the first time in my life, I wanted to exercise. So I think as you're adjusting to this, and keep in mind keto adaptation can be 2 to 4 weeks for most people. It might be upwards of 2 months for a lot of people. Get keto adapted and you'll know your brain will be on fire. Who can attest to that? It's just, you're really sharp. You have so much energy. I haven't eaten since breakfast this morning. Do I look like I'm about to fall over? No. And it's because the ketones step into place. So once you get to that level, then you're like, all right, what are we going to do? We're going to knock out this set. We're going to die. And so you'll find what will be good for you. All right, guys, I think they were going to push us off the stage.
All right, that was so great. Let's give him another round of applause, guys. Thank you. All right, so once again, if you haven't bought your book yet, you do have to buy it before you have it signed. You have plenty of time to go downstairs and grab a copy or a few copies.